almost blindly listen to people who are doing more than you.
I want to touch on like how you actually scale your agency. How did you actually scale up to the point where you are, and what's the plan to go forward? Obviously, going from 0 to 10 or 0 to 20, whatever number we want to say, is a lot
You're
different
nothing
than
under 20. You're nothing under 20. You don't even exist as a company if you're under 20K a month. And I can tell you the biggest thing that's helped me scale is.
So in this episode with Julian, who is an SMMA owner who scaled to 30K per month, he is going to break down and share every single process and system that he used to scale his agency from 0 to 30 plus K per month. And he's also sharing every single belief that has served him well and allowed him to be such a successful entrepreneur at such a young age. And Julian charges over $1,000 per hour. Okay, so by watching this video, you are literally getting $1,000 worth of free value, whether you want it or not. So go ahead, sit back, relax. Actually, don't relax. Take out your notepad and enjoy the episode. Alrighty, well, I'm here with my brother from another mother, the Quebecois, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Julian. Okay, we don't know how to say his last name. He'll roast us if we pronounce it anything wrong than what it is. But this guy, okay, known him for quite a while, went from being some fucking idiot, okay, running around in different Discord communities, pitching people 5K on his coaching services, telling them how to scale agencies when he had yet not scaled his own, to now crossing 30K last month. And we have rumored inside information that perhaps 40 and 50K is in the books. However, I don't feel that does you justice. So Julian, please be my friend and share a bit of your story and kind of, what got you started and how you got here.
Yeah, so I watched my first Iman video. 2 months later, I had made my first cold call. It was actually my New Year's resolution in 2023. Well, accidentally kind of became it because on New Year's, I was in front of the download page on Steam for a video game, and I was like, well, I kind of told myself I'd start a business online, so might as well just do it now. And I binge watched Thomas Gannett, and then, well, here I am 1 year later.
That's
So it took me a
crazy.
little bit, took me a lot. I think the biggest thing for me was like the growth mentally of like getting out of my old mindset into the new. I was like so arrogant, like crazy, crazy. And now I'm like, I feel like I've grown like 10 years in 1 year.
I can confirm you have at least mentally or maturely aged like 10 years in the last 365 days. That's for sure. Okay, growth, maturity, whatever. This reminded me of an Alex Becker video I watched a couple months ago about basically Alex Becker mentioning that you have to kill your old self to grow into your new self. And so touch on that
100%.
because I think a lot of people, right, myself included, and perhaps even you, think that you're going to become successful while you're still a little dweeb, to put it nicely, right? And so I'm under the belief that you have to grow as a person to be able to then do the thing you want to do. So touch on that because obviously you've had a lot of big growth spurt.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of beliefs. Like, I think what could have saved me a lot of months was just like, number one, almost blindly listen to people who are doing more than you, and who are where you want to be because what they're telling you is more than likely the truth. And
Mm.
the other thing too that's kind of funny is like sacrifice is required. It's not an option. It's a requirement to get to new heights. And when you're sacrificing, you're not just sacrificing money, you're not just sacrificing time, you're sacrificing friends, relationships,
Yep.
time with those relationships, like you're sacrificing to the deeper level, and you have to be like completely fine with doing that to actually reap the benefits of a sacrifice, right? Because if you're spending your time like almost, having regrets about your sacrifices, then you can never really grow because you're always attaching yourself to that old personality. And that's, I think, the biggest thing for me was just learning to sacrifice. Almost, it's almost a skill, just like making decisions or anything else that people kind of take for granted.
Yeah, like kind of like I know it's a far-fetched example, but killing the old you, because
Yeah.
the example I always go back to is the reason why you are exactly where you are is because of a sum of everything that's happened in your past, right? Your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions. It's why you are where you are. And if you aren't happy with where you are, then you have to become a totally different person to do totally different things. And it's like so you
100%.
actually have to kill the old you, and like it's gonna be difficult. And so bring us through that process because obviously changing from who you were to who you are now is a difficult process that most
Yeah.
people struggle if they even ever get to go through it.
I think it's a, short-term pain for a long-term benefit to keep it simple. You kind of just have to be like, well, fuck, like eat the bullet and then, then you're like, oh, wow, it's actually not that bad. Like I actually like this even more than before. It's like a business, or I love this analogy, but it's underused. It's like the gym guy who's benching 200 and then he has to change his technique, has to go back to benching 150 to build back, the different muscles to actually now bench like 300, right? But
Mm,
that doesn't just apply to business where you have to lose money to make more money. It also applies to your own personal life where you have to, lose some, happy days and, do have those hard conversations, not just with others yourself, cut friends out, be a little back on your moral just to be able to actually go further because, obviously you're a reflection of the decisions you make, and every time you do something it's a decision, right? Like hanging out with those people is a decision, and
mm,
like if you're not where you want to be, it's because of those decisions that you're making, and oftentimes it's actually the decisions that we're not thinking of doing that actually bring us down. Like a chain
mm.
is only as strong as its weakest link, right? If you have that one friend that brings you down to who you were before you actually got into this, like you're going to be slowed down to that degree. And I think for me, really just cutting everybody in my life who just didn't believe that doing like crazy shit like this was possible, has probably been the biggest improvement, especially moving out of like a household that was super like big on education and whatnot, and just saying fuck you to that and just being like, I can just make it work anyways.
Yeah, like like changing your environment and like not your
Exactly.
physical, but even like the people around you and
Dude.
even like the communities you hang out in and like the people you talk to online. Like obviously a lot of people, myself included, locally,
Yeah.
everybody thinks I'm crazy, everybody thinks I'm stupid, everybody thinks I'm arrogant and wild and idiotic and foolish, and it's like,
And then
but
you
then the
get on
people online
communities
are
with
like,
people like you, and they're like, "Oh, you're only doing this, dude. You should actually be doing
yeah,
like this thing that's like even crazy." And you're like,
exactly.
"What the fuck is this guy telling me?"
Exactly. They're like, dude, only 100K a month? Like, dude, try 1 million a month. I'm like, wait, that's normal? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's what it's like to be with the big dogs, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I need to be more in of these kind of rooms that people that like lift you up because, and I know
Yeah.
that you're huge on this. I'll let you just blob away. Because I remember probably about 6 months ago, you lectured me back and forth, left, right, and center for not charging enough. And it's the biggest thing because it's funny because not only did you lecture me on it, but I've lectured you on it, on limiting beliefs, because it's the one thing that stops basically everybody. And it's some sort of belief that stops you from being where you want to be.
Yeah.
And so grip away on that because that's something I know you're very passionate about, and it's ironic because you literally bash people's limiting beliefs, but then you also have some of the biggest limiting beliefs I've seen.
I have actually done an exercise that has helped me identify my exact limiting beliefs, and I
Oh,
feel like
sweet.
I could actually share this. So
Let's
there's a
go.
tweet or a post or something that Hermosi did about, how to remain poor. If you look it up online, you'll find it. It's like a list of like 40 or so items of like, oh, read books, do nothing. Do like like don't take advice from people doing less money than you. Like all these like little list items.
Yeah.
I turned that into a checklist and I checked all the ones I could say I was confident 100% that that wasn't me. That belief was broken.
Yeah.
Like read books, do nothing. Yeah, I do everything in the books that I read. I can check that off. And then that led me to looking at the list and being like, oh, wow, well, I do have actually some things that are in there that I've been doing, right? And you have to be like super honest with yourself. Like this isn't
Yeah.
to boost your ego. Like if you feel like shit after doing that, like that's good. You've done something right. And I've noticed that like some of them were literally like, find what works and then stop doing it. Like I was like running ads and they were really doing really good, and then I would stop them for like a stupid reason, and then I was like, oh shit, I am pretty stupid because I do this. And like you don't really notice them if you just read them and you don't think about each one of them. That was really good for limiting beliefs. And then you can even have an accountability partner go through it, answering the
Mm,
questions as if they were you. So you can get an outside perspective, because for the longest time I didn't think I was arrogant until somebody actually told me I was, right?
mm,
And that's kind of probably one of them, but that was one thing I suggest. But just to touch on actual limiting beliefs, like I think that having somebody that you can rely on that is just going to tell you the fucking honest truth,
mm,
especially somebody who can be hypocritical and just tell you like what they would do if they didn't have the same broke like fucked up beliefs.
mm. Yeah.
Like 'cause a lot of people are going to tell you like shit to do and they're not going to do it themselves, but sometimes the things that those people say are actually valuable too, right? Because it's their perspective
Mm,
on yourself. That's helped a
that's
lot. Like
interesting.
me and my partner, like we constantly just bash each other like, dude, shut the fuck up, that's a limiting belief, right? And then it makes them stop to think and go like, fuck, could it, is it actually a limiting belief? Oh shit, well, maybe it actually is. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now I'll be more open to this.
Yeah.
And it really helps to just have somebody just be like, no, you're a moron. Stop. You know?
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're stuck and you can't grow, it's because of you. It's not because of an external factor. Like 100% of the time. Like when I look at somebody in a trailer park, that has good health, right? Like they don't have like a leg, or like they don't have like something that like like they're not missing two arms and two legs, right? Like those people, like I'm like, well, like you have a lot of power over your situation that you don't actually know you have,
Mm,
right? And so it's the same thing for an entrepreneur. It's like if you're stuck at this much money, or if you're stuck at this much, or whatever, you're stuck at this place, it's like it's entirely because of you. Like the business is a reflection of the entrepreneur. So you just have to see what in yourself is actually stopping you from achieving the growth that you really desire. And that can be through like a coach just like bashing you, or somebody just, yeah.
gotcha.
I think I gave a few points on that.
Yeah, that's some crazy vibe. I get to take some notes now and go, okay, that's interesting. Now I gotta leverage that in my life. I want to touch on like how you actually scale your agency. 'Cause that's a question that everybody always has. But before that, you posted inside of the inner circle, I think about 2 months ago when you were on your trip in where was it? Puerto Rico? No. Where was it? Costa Rica?
Punta Cana.
Punta Cana, okay, walking around with your hat on, loving life, and you said, and you mentioned a few beliefs that have served you well lately. One of them being, don't delay the inevitable. If there's something's gonna happen, do it now. But there's a few other things that you mentioned that were super valuable. What were those things?
I don't actually remember. Do you have them written down?
No, I do not. I just remember that one so vividly because it's something I keep repeating myself. If there's something that I know I'm gonna have to do eventually, why not just do it now?
Yeah, that's been a big one for me. Like that's why we started running ads.
Mm,
That's why we didn't delay it until we made more money.
yeah,
Um, and literally just one client has paid for all of our ad spend so far. Like we just like it's kind of almost funny, right?
yeah.
And it was a big belief. Like I can tell you though that even if that video, whatever how true it is or not, like the biggest actual thing, because I think that channel doesn't exist anymore, right?
It's all in school now.
Nah, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, sadly. I could find the video and send it to you. Maybe you can link it here or something, or don't. It's embarrassing a little bit.
I'll do some coding and I'll go find the message.
Cool, cool, cool. But I think the biggest thing has just been taking crazy action and knowing how to make decisions properly, which I am a victim of many times not having made the right decisions.
Mm,
But over time, you just kind of learn by iteration. So having an actual decision-making process is going to save me and has saved me from making a lot of, stupid decisions, whether that is doing or not doing something. And I can share a little bit on that if you think that that's interesting.
always share, share, share.
So one of the biggest things, like you said, like if you're gonna do something anyways, might as well just do it now. That's kind of like to touch on ads. Like a lot of people say, oh yeah, but what about when you wait until like are better at closing to run the ads so you're not wasting money? Well, like, dude, if you're starting to put the credit card, like what the fuck do you think you're gonna do for the next 3 days? Probably learn how to fucking sell so you don't, make it flop, right?
Fair enough.
Instead, right now you're just putting the excuse that you're taking time to learn on the no, you're just not taking action as quickly as you could be. And the
Yeah.
reality is that eventually you're going to have to run ads anyways, unless you go to content route, which power to you. Um, but you're probably going to run ads, so might as well just run them now, right? And at the start of your agency, your calls are going to be fucking dirt cheap because people have shiny object syndrome. So running ads is pretty cheap when you're starting out, right? Unless you like, I don't know, dude,
You're a
it's
complete
really
idiot.
suck. Like complete idiot, yeah. Which if you are, probably still run ads to learn that you're a complete idiot, which is going to be a
Yeah.
very, very big return on investment to know. Um, and it's definitely that sort of like I've heard somewhere that like instead of like trying to be creative, just take action and that will make you creative. And I think that also translates to just taking action. Like instead of like actually waiting to have taken action before taking more action, just take the biggest amount of action that you could, and that will trickle down into making you take smaller pieces of action that are required. Like take like for example, literally ads, right? Like start running ads, and that will force you to learn how to sell and learn how to actually run a system, make sure you have a good show up rate, all these like little skills that you wouldn't really like have forced yourself to learn from outreach, right? And eventually you'll figure out that the way you're running outreach is probably completely inefficient and you're wasting a lot of money and time anyways, right? Like if you see how Alex Hormozy was doing outreach, like you would be like, I might as well just run ads because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Genuinely, like this guy's whole process was orchestrated like a program. Anyways, besides that, the other thing that I think has helped me a lot is just making yes or no decisions on the spot. But reserving myself the right to actually go and look for more information before making the decision, right? If somebody cold calls me and goes like, Julian, pay me 1,000, I'm not gonna be like yes or no. I'm gonna be like, all right, well, dude, let me look at your company. You know, like what the hell do you even offer? But if you can say to yourself, I have enough information to make a decision, and you're not making a decision, you're doing something wrong, right? So make a decision, and no delaying is an option, but it has to not be linked to fear, right? If you have
Mm.
the money to do
Whoa.
something and you're not taking action now, and you know that you should be doing this, then yeah, you should do it. Also, another piece that's really helped me, which is actually one of Matt Shield's videos. If you look for it, it's like how to get rich or something like that. But the real purpose behind the video is to show you that like you should look at what your real vision is for your life. And I'm talking like write it down. Like, what does your day look like? What are all these things look like? What do you really care about? Like, think, like, sleep on it. Actually, like, that's the only time I'll ever tell you to sleep on something. It's like, actually sleep on your vision, because putting great thought to that is going to save you a lot of money and time. Because once you know what you really want, then you know that if you make a certain decision, you know to say yes or no based on if it brings you closer or further away from your actual vision, right? If my goal is to live a life of me doing whatever the fuck I want, I'm not going to pay some guru to optimize my lifestyle of having a strict routine of going to the gym and eating at the same times every single day, right? But
Mhm,
if I didn't have
mhm.
a vision, I'd be like, well, yeah, that should help me with like brain, fog or whatever. Like I'll just do it regardless, but you're not making the right decision there without even knowing it, right? And you'll realize it later down the line, but you could have used that money elsewhere. I'm just giving a random example.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of other tricks too, right? It's just kind of well, yeah, I think I've given a few there. I mean, I'm kind of going over some more in my head, but if you want to add anything in the meantime.
No, that's I mean it's all stuff I agree with and I like because it's a lot of philosophies and different beliefs that I also hold quite near and dear to my heart and how I've at least if not do at least try and operate a bit closer to because there's a quote and actually I think I made this quote or I said it on an accelerator call many months ago. Someone wrote it down, clipped it, and the quote goes that the time it takes you to make a decision always costs more than the time it makes than the time if you took the wrong decision. So basically, like the time it takes you to make a decision always will cost you more than making the wrong decision. That's the quote right
100%.
there. And because
100%.
people like if you made the wrong decision,
100%.
at least then you know, and then you can go make the right decision. But if you don't make a decision, you'll never know anyway. It's like never starting. And so it's something that I've always had to repeat to myself. It's like, okay, I should just do because if I do, one of two things happens. I'm never going to do something that I don't think will get me closer to my goal. And so, as Alex Ramosi actually used as a closing thing, what I use as a decision making process is, does this thing get me closer to my goal? If the answer
Yeah.
is yes, I'll do it. And if I fail, then okay, cool. I didn't get closer. I didn't get to my goal, but at least I got closer to it. And either way, that's still a win-win. And so I learned something that will then get me closer to where I need to go. Because oftentimes this is like a graph I have to draw it to myself sometimes. Is there's a basically I have a quote or it's like a graphic on my phone. And what it looks like is it's basically a long line like this and then an exponential curve up. And the quote, or basically what it says, is everything that you learn here is what's required to go here. The problem is people can't stick this out long enough because it's boring. And that was like a
Yeah.
whoa moment for me because I was like, whoa, yes, you spend so long learning, but but like the stuff you
Mm.
learn here or the stuff you learn in the valley, right? When you're at the bottom, when you're at the valley of despair, at the very bottom of a mountain, is what you need in order to get here. And the way I apply this in the real world is what you learn at the bottom of the mountain talking to the instructor or the guide is the information you need to know to get to the top. Because if you don't know how to get to the top, you'll never get there.
I have two things I want to add to this that are
Yes.
probably the two frameworks that I've used that have kept me going this far, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to have one belief that brings you forward at the start, right? You have to have that one thing that kickstart the whole chain of events. And the one thing that I told myself was if I do this every fucking day for 10 years, it's impossible that I fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like every day, oh, this is really deep. I was actually thinking about this really deeply recently. What is it that I actually want to do every day? Right? And there's two
Mm.
things: show up for my business and show up for myself, which ultimately is just one thing. It's showing up for myself. But every day when I get out of bed, my goal is not to get X amount of work done. My goal is not to talk to X people. My goal is not to make X money. My goal is just to wake up and get to work. And those two things, I dumbed it down as simply as possible. And I think that if you just have this mindset of just like wake up and just start, you know, like
Yeah.
just show up for yourself. And the other thing too is going to the gym. You know, I started doing this recently. It doesn't matter how much I go to the gym, what I do at the gym. It doesn't matter how I'm improving. All I want to feel is that I'm showing up because I know that if I go to the gym every single day for 10 years, I will have the dream body that I want regardless, right? I will build habits. Things will happen naturally to advance me further. That's number one. And then you mentioned something too, right at the end. What was that?
The mountain climb. But the one thing I'll add to that is that's awesome, and I love that because it's something that Dylan. I don't know if you got it from Dylan, but Dylan said a really long time ago, and it's
That's the first mindset framework that I've used. And I want to say something just before I forget
yeah,
it. The
yeah,
other framework I've used is looking at my lows and asking myself, is this low higher than the previous low? This was from Dylan. And every time that I'm in a down and I'm feeling like shit, I tell myself, well, I'm feeling like shit right now, but am I further along the journey than I
mm,
was last time I was feeling like shit? Oh, I am? Cool. Now I'm having a good day. Let's keep going.
yeah.
Anyways, keep going. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure I
No,
got that.
I just want to touch on that because it's something that I've instilled in my life, and it's being input focused rather than output focused. So instead of waking up and going,
Exactly.
how can I get the output? How can I make the money? It's how can I do the inputs that will inevitably lead me to the money anyway. And the best thing is if you do them and you do them consistently on a long enough time frame, you will get so much more in abundance of what you wanted in the first place anyway. And you also live a very more fulfilling life because now instead of focusing on the outcomes, which is never ever enough, it'll never be fulfilling. 10K,
Exactly.
nope, now 20K. 20K, nope, now 50, 100, never be fulfilling. You're focusing on the inputs, and the inputs can be so fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. And I've noticed that about myself, you know, hitting milestone after milestone. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. What the next one?
What's
And
next?
exactly. And I'm never fulfilled by them. And I'm happy that
Yeah.
that was never my goal because I would be miserable, right? My actual goal is just to do what I love doing, which is this, right? I just love improving. I just love growing a team, doing that stuff. And in my mind, you know, if I just do something that I love, I'll be the best at it than anybody else, right?
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And there's one thing I want to share. It's from a YouTube video I watched from Eli Wild, and it's basically and the reason why I'm saying this is because I know that you and myself included are so heavy on like if you don't believe, you won't be able to do it, right? And so like
Yeah,
belief is literally the thing that starts you off. And it was a video from
100%.
Eli Wild talking about basically the three fundamentals or the core principles of a belief, like how is a belief formed. And number one is you have to believe that the thing is possible. So, for example, making money online. You had to believe that making money online was possible, not that you could. That making money online was possible. That's belief structure number one.
Yeah,
Belief structure number two is that you have to believe that you are capable of making the money online. Okay,
yeah,
cool. The problem is most people think it ends there. There's one more. There's one more. It's you have to believe that the thing is worth doing. You have to believe that it's worth it, and so you'll stick it out. And where I learned this is from Eli Wild, right? But it's from a man who was dead set on the fact that there was treasure somewhere, I think, in the ocean off Florida, off on the Keys. Long story short, he got funding, he spent all his money, got a team, went out there, tried to find the treasure, didn't find it. 10 years went by. He went through two different wives, over 100 different staff members, still didn't find it. Started taking out loans, started doing fundraisers to try and get this treasure. 16 years went by, no treasure. He had gone through three divorces, 100 plus different staff members, hundreds of thousands of dollars in loaning, and he still didn't find the treasure. But then he did. And he found over $60 million worth of treasure. Now he would have never kept going if he didn't, one, believe it was there, two, believe he could, and three, believe it was worth it. But he had all those three checked off, and so he believed it.
Fucking crazy. That's
I know,
crazy.
right? When I heard, it, I was like, wow. I was like, I need to be like that guy, bro.
Maybe I need to
16
start
years,
believing. Maybe I need to
three
start
wives,
believing that there's money under the floorboard, you know?
dude.
There's money in the walls.
Dude, 16 or 60 million. Anyways, scrap all that. The thing that everybody wants to know, and I'm curious as well. I mean, I've seen it happen, literally in action. But what people want to know is, how'd you scale the agency? And what's the plan moving forward? So I guess that's a two-part question.
Mm,
How did you actually scale up to the point where you are, and what's the plan to go forward? Because it's like obviously going from 0 to 10 or 0 to 20, whatever number we want to say, is a lot
You're
different
nothing under
than
20.
20 to 50, right?
No, my number one framework was like you're nothing under 20. Because somebody told me this, like you don't even exist as a company if you're under 20K a month. And I was like, oh shit, well, this is actually like the starting point. And it's so fucking true, by the way. Like under 20, like you're nothing.
Yeah.
Then you start having to hire and doing that stuff. And I think one of the best frameworks is like hire culture and hire culture. Like it's just so important to have a great team culture. Like if you have a shit team
Mhm.
culture, you will do shit.
Yeah.
I actually think it's more important to have a great team culture than great qualifications for the job. Because at the end of the day, somebody who's fucking hungry to learn is gonna learn what somebody else is not hungry to do, right?
Yeah.
Even if you
Yeah.
have qualifications, if the
Whoa,
person
that's a
is willing,
bar.
yeah,
Damn, that's a bar, bro.
yeah, that's the mindset I have, like somebody who's really hungry is going to just put in more work, and because it's more input, there'll just be naturally more output in the long term, right? Because you got to think about it really takes only 2 weeks to learn a new skill and, a lifetime to master it, but, who has a lifetime and here anyways, right? Like you might have 7 years of experience in Google Ads. Okay, that's cool, but what about hiring a consultant that has 20 to teach the guy who is hungry to work, 80 hours a week for you? um like it's a way bigger return on investment, and that's kind of
Mhm.
like the mindset that I've had behind this. And I can tell you the biggest thing that's helped me scale is and the biggest thing that stopped me from scaling almost was always hire and always sell, right? You always got to be recruiting, you always got to be selling, and if you stop one of them to try to fix the other, you've already fucked up. Because
Mhm.
we stopped our acquisition to hire. Oh, I wish I didn't. We could have hit maybe 35, 40K last month, if we
Yeah.
didn't, but we did, and that fucked us over a little bit. And now I've learned from the mistake. But that number one, and number two, if you wouldn't hire the person on the spot, don't even think about hiring them. That's my number two. Because this is the crazy thing that I've had in my mindset. It's like I have to get on interviews with the mindset that I have to sell them on why they should work with me, not on the
Mhm.
mindset of like they have to sell me on why, like, yes, you do want to, but you want to split it into two, right? You want to do the first part, they sell you on, why they're the best fit, and the second
Yeah.
part is you sell them, because this is what's happened to me a few times is I've had a great cultural fit, great, qualification set. And then at the end, they're like, well, yeah, I just want to take in a few more interviews. And it just feels like a think about it from a prospect and I want to strangle them. But it's because I fucked up, right? So when you have a really like an A player, hire on the spot. And this is another great framework too. It's like if you wouldn't hire them on the spot, why would you even try to hire them? If you're trying to
Mhm.
look for a better person, that means you just haven't found the right person in front of you. Don't
Yep.
settle for somebody who is the person that you would settle for if you didn't find anybody better, right? Like you just have
Yeah.
to find that person that's better. It's kind of like with hiring VAs, right? Like if you did 30 interviews, you didn't find somebody you're satisfied with, don't just settle for whatever. Like
Yeah.
keep doing interviews until you find an actual great person. And they are a great person, they exist.
Yeah.
Another thing too is you have to attract great people. And a good way to attract great people is with a great team. So you just have to, keep that in mind. That's number one. Number two, obviously, I can't say it enough. Like running ads, super, super, super important with everything. Like if you're not already running ads and you have more than 3K in your bank account, fucking run ads. All right. Because this is another thing too that you talked about that I really loved. You said the time that the time that you spend thinking about the decision rather than just failing is greater, like whatever whatever you
Mhm.
said.
Mhm.
And it's also true with learning, right? The time that you would have spent actually learning how to run the ads before actually running them is a greater loss, a greater opportunity cost, and actually just running the ads and learning as you're doing them, right?
Mm, yeah.
I would have actually probably wasted a lot of months just trying to learn Facebook ads, but instead of that, I just fucking launched the ads for my first ever client and somehow made them money. I figured it out by luck almost, but regardless, it's still forced me to learn. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, like start running ads and then force yourself to learn sales. And even the small amount of money that you would have saved by actually learning the skill before applying it is insignificant to the amount of time, aka money, that you would have spent actually learning the skill before applying it. And that's kind of how I've been about things. It's like if I have to do something new, just fucking YOLO it. Like fuck the research, just do it and then make it work. That's the other thing too. It's like if I'm gonna have to make it work, then failing isn't an option. I never give myself failing. Like failing isn't an option. Like, and if it does, and if I do fail, then I find ways to keep moving forward regardless of that failure, right? And I don't count
Yeah.
it as a failure. I just count it as an experience. Like I never fail. I never fail. It's
Yeah.
impossible for me to fail.
You can only fail if you give up. Or as my
Exactly.
mom texted me this morning, she sent me a quote about this, some inspiration for everybody
Awesome.
here. My mom's texted me a thing which says, if you fail, never give up because fail means first attempt in learning.
Exactly.
First attempt in learning. I love that one because I have failed on Facebook so many times, but that was just my first attempt in learning the thing. And now I can run the ads just fine. Woohoo.
Yeah.
What other or nooks and crannies or tactical tips do you think have served you well in allowing you to actually build your agency to the point, and or what are you planning to do, or what sort of things are going to help you to scale beyond?
I think just building a great team and not like hiring out leadership, like, just promoting people to higher roles and actually like, because the more team you have, the less like, people at McDonald's, believe it or not, the heads at McDonald's, they have a company culture. I know it's hard to fucking believe. And the people at the bottom in the trenches, the culture is so diluted, you like forget about it, right? Like it's not even existent, right?
Yeah.
But this is the thing. It's like if you have great leaders, the only job of a great leader is actually to like, transfer the culture as best as possible, right? Like a great versus a shitty leader can actually transfer the idea, the vision, the culture to the people under them better. And that means that those people can also transfer to the people below. So your company is greater, more solid. That's the number one plan, right? It's just to build the best culture because I can also hire the best people. Because where do the best people want to work? Where they can have the best job, right? The best
Yeah.
fulfilling experience. Employees like to fulfill. Feel fulfilled is super important. But the real plan to scale is, scaling as far as possible with the ads in one vertical and then opening up different verticals. Like that's what my coach does. He has like two niches open right now, which he, by the way, scaled to like 200K before even thinking about opening another vertical. But then he structures his things in pods, right? So each account manager has their own like media buyer, which has their own go high level person, and they all kind of collaborate together and handle like 20, 25 clients. And then all you
Mm.
have is just one person above that manages all these little people. It's more complex than that, but you kind of get the idea of like
Yeah.
if you just build the acquisition system and then you map out the hiring process in the back end, like exactly who you need to be hiring, when you need to hire them. I think we can sum this up to one word. It's just like clarity. Like if there's one thing that'll help you scale is actually knowing what does my company need to look like at 50K a month. It's not just like what would somebody doing 50K a month do? Because you have no fucking clue. You're not somebody doing
Yeah.
50K a month. And as much as
Yeah.
you can use that framework to make great decisions about what would somebody doing 50K a month do? Or what would the person, living my vision do? But you can honestly just um fuck, I kind of lost my train of thought.
We're talking about clarity.
Yeah, yeah. So honestly, um well, fuck, remind me a little more. You can cut this out. Actually,
This ain't
I
getting cut.
actually,
Um, well, how about this? We'll summarize it as you said. You're saying that not you don't know what a 50K a month what it's gonna be like when you're
yes,
there,
exactly,
but there you
exactly.
go.
You have to get clarity on what actually running an agency that does 50K looks like to know how to make decisions to truly reach there. So that's why investing in coaching is so important, because that gives you the clarity that you need to actually reach there. Because of my coach, because he's doing 250K a month, right? Even if I
Yeah.
pay him really good money, now I have clarity of what I need to be doing to get to 250K a month. So I'm not even worried about getting to 250K a month because I know
Yeah.
what that looks like and I know what I need in order to get there and have the support to get there. So for me, it's just a question of just like doing what my coach tells me to do until I eventually reach where he is.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. That should go in a poem right there. Because, and the reason I say it is because there's so many people who will, maybe they won't get a coach, maybe listen to somebody online, but they take and they go, okay, that's good. That's interesting. Yep, that's cool. And then they don't apply it. It's like, dude, what are you doing? It's, it's
And the
like, did you
problem with
not
that too
want to
is that
grow?
you can take some advice, but it's not being for where you are. Like Alex Ramosi touches a lot on this. Like, a lot of people have the right knowledge, but not for the right place that they're in, right? Like maybe
Mm,
they know how to run a 50K a month company, but they don't know how to actually get to 50K. And
yeah.
it's also knowing the journey that matters a lot. So as much as you can listen to gurus online, see how Matt Shields does his fucking, expectation setting. Like if you don't know how to even,
That video
when
is
to set
so good.
expectations, that is I had my team literally listen to it like 3 or 4 times to write that stuff down. Um, yeah, they love Matt Shields, by the way. Like in my team, love
Shout out
him.
to Matt Shields because I
Oh
I
yeah.
was talking to him over DMs the other day, and just for the fact that somebody of that magnitude is even answering my DMs is quite
Oh, he answered on what platform?
on Instagram and school.
Dude, that's crazy.
If you want to reach out to Matt Shields, join his Agency World
I
School
did.
committee.
Did you
Okay,
go to the
free plug.
mastermind with Ravi?
No, I missed that. Ravi Bula.
That yeah, I asked a question in there. I asked him about his decision making process, and that was like
Yeah.
really gold.
If Matt Shields watched this, shout out to you. You are a legend. And a very humble
Dude, yeah.
man.
I'll
And you've
probably
helped
end
us a
up
lot.
paying you one day for coaching.
Yeah, if he even accepts it, bro, he'll be like, no, 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 no. I'm only trying to make free community. It's like, okay, Alex Hormozi 2.0 here. Anyways, where were we? Circling back, we're talking about Matt Shields on expectation setting, something of that
Yeah.
magnitude. Oh,
Oh yeah,
team.
that's sick. If you
What?
still have the original video, I'd love it because I've been trying to find his presentation and I can't find it, like the one that he uses.
Oh, why can just I have the onboarding sequence? You want that?
Yeah.
We've already built it out for you. What do you mean? We built it out.
Yeah, but it's the presentation. Like I want to know how he
Oh,
structures
that
it.
one. Oh, the expectation setting, like the 100 something.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go find it and I can send it to you after this.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, because that is very valuable.
Everyone's watching. Is like, what is it? What is it? Send it to us. Nah, not for you. um.
Ah,
Anyways, back to team because literally team by far the most important thing. Like your team is a
100%.
direct reflection of how good your company is. Simple as that,
Yeah,
right?
and how
Like
good I am.
yeah, yeah. And I think and one quote that I love about leadership is your job as a leader is simply just to provide an environment in which your people can thrive. And that's
Yeah,
really switched my thought process on leadership instead of like trying to like sit here because management and leadership are two totally separate things. That's something that I always got confused. Like, oh, leadership is management. No, it's
no,
not. And
no.
so a thing that Alex is really not Alex, mostly Alex Newman, shout out to you, has really instilled in my brain is becoming your own CEO, trying to empower your people to become their own CEO. But the best way to
Yeah,
do this is to basically put a boundary around someone and then say, hey, do whatever you want in this boundary. So the best leadership
yeah,
is to create a boundary and say, hey, you can do whatever you want inside of this boundary, and therefore they feel like they are their own CEO of their own little compartment inside of the
yeah.
boundaries you set. But the one thing that struck me the most out of any of this stuff was this quote that said the best way to get somebody to do the thing you want them to do is make them think it was their idea.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And you know what my framework around leadership has actually been? Because I used to, one of the things that has helped me a lot too is I used to actually have a Minecraft server. I know. And I was basically getting volunteers to do free work. So
Okay.
I had to level up in the sense where like I had to become a better person to attract people who would actually, spoiler alert, fucking failed miserably because I was shit. But it's helped me because now the way that the framework that I use is how would I treat this person if they weren't getting paid? how would I motivate this person to actually work if they weren't getting paid? And that has led me to just like pumping everybody up, just like, let's fucking go, let's get this shit, let's kill it. And it's really helped me just like, motivate people because I'm like, well, what if I wasn't paying them? Or what if they didn't even know they were getting paid, right? Like, how would I keep them around? And that's just like, I think a good framework for anybody to use, especially if you have setters. If you're using money to motivate people, like you're already fucking up.
Yeah, that's fair because I money will never be the end all be all motivator. Like you know
And
what I mean?
and
Like
this is the
people.
thing too that I've learned the hard way. Don't negotiate pay. Like anything that you do, don't negotiate pay. You either give them what they want or you don't hire them. Because what's worse than having somebody on your team who isn't happy with how much they're making is having somebody on your team who's not happy about how much they're making. Like there is no worse. It's you have to give them, you have to meet them at, where they are and
Yeah.
take them to where they want to be. You have to literally sell your employees on the vision and on their own personal growth. Like every time I onboard somebody new, I go through their money goal, their health goal, and their overall like mind goal or whatever. Like they're more like less
Spiritual,
concrete.
emotional.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I show them how working with me is actually going to help them get closer to that goal. And
Yep.
now, like, dude, I have people who are like killers, like absolute killers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they're bought into the vision. That's like by far, like I've trained and managed a lot of different people. My biggest and my favorite tip that I'll ever tell to anybody to have better employees, if you will. I don't even consider my people ever employees. I consider them partners inside of my company because that's basically what they are, because they're just as much part of the company as I am. But it's getting them bought into the vision. Because if you can get
100%.
somebody bought into the same vision, they will literally work harder than you
Yeah.
because they're bought into the bigger thing, something that's way bigger than themselves, something that's bigger than money, bigger than just you two, and
And
it's
it's harder
by
to let
far the best.
somebody else down than it is to let yourself down. And if you're doing something for something that's bigger than you, it's harder to let that down too. Just yeah.
That's I didn't even think of it that way. And just getting them bought into the vision of the company. And one person that does this so incredibly well, and somebody I look up to and admire completely in the business space, is Jeff Bezos, because not only I'm reading his book, where it's not even his book, but it's the Amazon shareholders, whatever. But more than that, I was on the phone with their customer service a couple months ago. Basically, some issue with the package for Amazon. It took 3 months to ship here, and when we got here, it was broken. And so I called and I was like, "Hey, I just want to like sort this out, right?" The lady, bro, the most kind, caring person in the world. She goes, "Listen, here's what's gonna happen. Amazon has a policy for things like this. Don't worry. I'm gonna contact the seller within the next 48 hours. If you don't hear back from them, you email me personally, and Amazon will refund you, even if they don't. So don't worry about it. It's gonna be taken care of. Do you want us to send you a new one or just refund you?" And I'm just sitting here like, oh my goodness. At the end, I kid you not. Okay, it only took like 10 minutes. She was so quick and snappy, so good. I was like,
Oh,
how are you guys this good? How are you guys like this? You know what she said to me? She goes, because if it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. And I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. That's so true. Like, we are your customers. Like, if it weren't for us, you wouldn't have a job. Jeff Bezos went there and he's instilled that into everybody that works at Amazon to get them bought into the bigger thing, which is
crazy.
providing the
Yeah.
best service. I forget, it's one of the 14 principles in the book, but basically, customer obsession. One of Jeff Bezos' biggest characteristics, one of his biggest traits that he attributes or at least followed when building Amazon and still does, is customer obsession, being obsessed with the customer. And that shows. If you look at Amazon,
Yeah.
they are by far, by every metric, better than every single company out there. Hires more people, like revenue aside, that makes over $1 billion a day. Most employed company in the world, right? Employs the most people. But also look at their shipping. No company can even get close to replicating that because profits go down, because most companies make all their money in the shipping. But Jeff Bezos said, screw it. We don't care. We want to be so far ahead of everybody else that nobody can compare. And I'm like, that's the kind of guy that I want to like take notes and be like, I need to build my business like this
It's
guy.
interesting.
You know what I
What book
mean?
is that?
Do. Oh, it's in my backpacks. I just came back from Toronto. It's called Amazon's this. I'm gonna go. How do I not know the name? I'm gonna go find the name for you. But it's
And
the
actually
shareholders letters of Amazon.
the
I'm actually
Shareholder's
so
Guide to
pissed though.
Amazon, I think. I think I've heard
No,
about it.
hold on. Let me go
And
find
and this
it.
is another thing too that you asked me earlier. Like, what was the like one of the big changes for your like personal self-improvement?
Yeah.
Reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It
Stop.
sounds so cliche, but yeah, it's my favorite book. It's my favorite book. It's had the biggest impact on me.
By the way, the book I was talking about is called The Bezos Letter. Really good book. Really,
Mm,
really good book. But yes, this book's funny because I haven't even read the full thing. I've watched like all the summaries on it, but I'm getting through it now.
wow. It's even better if you
So,
take notes while you're reading.
well, I'm gonna. Where's my highlighter? I forget where my highlight. It was here, so I was highlighting. And I always tip for everybody is I have a Notion file, and I have two separate ones. I have one for books, and I still have another one where books go in, but I call it actionables. And so what I do is every time I watch a YouTube
Mm,
video or listen to a podcast or even get mentored by someone or hop on a coaching call, whatever the case may be, what I'll do is if I learn something really important, for example, I watch a video of Alex Mosley like 4 years ago talking about how he trained his sales team. And what I do is I write down all the actionables. How can I implement this into my business, into my life? And I write down all the actionables, not the
that's
theory and all the stuff.
smart.
I write down the bottom, but all the actionables of what could I do right away to implement it into my business. And so I have a whole list of like different things on customers and mindset and sales and you name it, right? Of just
Mm.
like actionable tips I can do. And so that's what I'll do with
I'm
this
gonna
book.
end up hiring you as like my CO at one point. I swear to God.
There you go. There
Or
you
my
go.
VP of client experience.
Well, we got step one in place, so we're ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. By the way, Stefan is a G because his advice has been like exceptional. Like especially the client journey that you helped me put in place. Like it's like wonders. Like I have nothing to say like about like it's just there's no like descriptor. It's not just amazing. It's not just like it's game changing. Like it's probably saved me from losing so much money and being able to provide so much more value to people, which was really my goal. And the mindset too. And I think something new that I've kind of thought about is like systems. Like that's
Mm,
why I also think, if you wouldn't do it for a day, or if you wouldn't do it for a year, don't do it for a day. Just like, if you wouldn't work with somebody for a year, don't work with them for a day. It's
mhm.
kind of the same thing with systems, right? If somebody asked you to do a custom task, if you wouldn't do that custom thing for a year, then like don't accept it and actually look at the, what is it? What's the real goal? But it's just another, detail.
Interesting. Well, my pleasure. I'm glad that it
Of
worked out
course,
so well.
man.
But yeah, well, when I saw it, I was like, there's so many like little, like they're not even like super big things where like it takes like 8 years to build out. It's like these simple little things that just yield
Yeah.
such big of an ROI.
Big
Um,
levers.
right? Exactly. It's the saying that small hinges move big doors, right?
Exactly.
And very much so. And so I'm glad that it worked out so well, and we'll continue to do so. Um, Anyways, to circle back, I don't even know where it works. This is just all over the place, but man, I love it. Because even like I'm like
Lots of
learning some stuff
value in
here and
this.
there.
Lots
Oh,
of
I
value.
know.
Guys, if you're enjoying Stefan shit, guys, go drop a big fat subscribe or whatever platform you're on. Go follow this guy. This guy just drops nuggets and gives you free Minecraft and Subway Surfer footage at the
Like
same
I
time.
stopped it. Okay, we stopped it. We literally talking about content team this morning. No more Minecraft stuff. It's funny because it wasn't even just you. Like, there's some people hitting me up saying there's people like, and I thought about it. I was
Funny.
like, what's my goal? Because here we go again. Like, talk about the big vision. My goal is to truly inspire and educate people. Like, my goal with my channel, literally, my banner is inspire people. That's just my biggest goal, is just to inspire and educate people. And so I was like, okay, is putting this Minecraft stuff educating and inspiring people? Well, probably not. Okay, we should remove it. If I was getting millions of views, different story. I wasn't getting millions of views, so we scrapped it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anyways, thank you. And if anybody here wants to give Julian a follow, I don't know where you can find him.
I'll
But you
drop you
can,
some links and maybe you can put them
there we
down
go. We'll
below.
put it in the description. You can go click his links. You can go find him wherever. Is there do you want to? I know you have to go in 8 minutes here. So is there anything you want to touch on or share or mention while we have these last couple minutes here?
Um, I think what would I say to myself if I was to start over again? I think
Okay.
that's probably one because I know there's probably beginners out there, people looking to get started into business. And honestly, I always see it as in like, short-term pain for long-term benefit, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, the business, it's the life and you have to have a lifestyle business, right? Like if you're getting the business for the money, forget it. Like don't even try. Do
Mm.
something else for money, right? You can make money, more profit, less work, less stress for much better. Um, what I would tell
Heck, work a
myself
nine to
though,
five.
Yeah,
Now, granted,
literally.
that won't get you an abundance of money. But then at the end of the day, why do you want an abundance of money? Well, it's probably for some bigger thing, which is
Exactly.
perhaps purpose, which there we go.
Yeah. So I think what I would tell to myself starting is really just listen to people who make more than you and who have your best interest, and make sure the incentives are always in the right place. Those are probably the biggest things that I would tell myself, because if you just listen to people doing more than you, even if you fucking blindly listen, more times out of, you know, 50%, like it's beating the casino, you just have to win 51% of the time. In life, it's
Mhm.
the same thing. If you want to improve in life, you just have to win 51% of the time. Odds are you're going to win way fucking more often than that, right?
Hopefully.
So, like, at least the small losses are gonna, be overpowered by the big wins, right? So if it's like we quantify it, your wins always overpower your losses. Um, and I think if I just told myself, just blindly listen to other people, and worst case scenario, you have a very short-term failure, but you also have a chance to have a very long-term success. Because I spent months and months and months cold calling and not listening to people saying to do outreach. The moment I started doing email when I was working with painters, 2 months later, like I hit 5K, like in 1 month. And then I moved, and
Yeah.
then that allowed me to like quit school and whatnot. And if I had just listened earlier, like maybe today I would be already at 100K. Who knows?
Yeah.
But like just that, and because I see so many people that I want to help out, I tell them like, look, I know exactly what situation you're in because I was in your situation. All you have to do is this, and this, and then they'll fucking think about it. Are you serious right now? I'm telling you how do you get closer to your goal, and you're just like not even considering thinking, like you're not even considering doing it. That's number one. Like honestly, that alone would have changed my life if I just done it faster. Now I do it. Now I just fucking all right. Well, worst case scenario, I lose a little bit of money trying this out, or I do whatever.
Yeah.
Because most decisions are not irreversible, right? You're not getting a
Yeah.
divorce, or you're not getting married, right? Like it's like fucking spending ads. Like, oh, run this kind of ad. Okay, well, fuck it, I'll just try it.
Yeah. No, it didn't work. Okay, on to the next one. Your
Exactly.
life
Like
goes
just
on.
blindly at the end of the day, like even if you blindly listen to people, as long as the incentives are in the right place, right? Like for example, with Dylan's coaching, right? Like I know right now, like people in the program that coach are incentivized, even if Dylan doesn't make money from it, to actually make them hit milestones. Like that's the kind of incentivization that you need, right? Like if somebody is incentivized or wins by you winning, listen to them, right? And even
Yeah.
and be careful with that too, because that might mean that somebody wins by feeling better about themselves, right? Like when I help somebody who's new and I just give them free advice, it's because it's kind of like my ego, right? Like
Hmm.
if somebody wins nothing by telling you how to do the right thing, but they also don't lose anything, then it's also probably worth listening to.
Yeah, well, that's a good example. Like on let's say for my YouTube channel, right? Perfect example. Necessarily, like technically, there's no tangible thing that I win if somebody takes what I say and does well. However, I feel extremely good when somebody comments like, "Yo, try this, did well," or even just like, "Yo, thank you."
Yeah.
I'm like, because like my biggest goal is just to inspire people, right? And so I'm like, if I get a comment like that, I'm like, I inspired one person to say, "Let's go." And so it's like
Yeah.
that's a win for me. And so it's like at the end of
100%.
the day, I think people do things, or at least myself, a lot of people, once you make a bit of money, it's not about the money anymore, right? And so it's about
Yeah.
something a lot bigger, right? And for me, it's living a purposeful, like fulfillment driven life. And so I find fulfillment when people around me do exceptionally well. And if I can, impact the world in a better way than if I can impact the world in a good way and leave it better than I found it, I think my life will be very fulfilling while I'm here. And
There you
so,
go. I think
yeah.
that ends it pretty well. Thank you, Stefan. It was awesome,
Dude,
man.
thank
I
you for
really
coming on
appreciate
here.
it.
I know your time is very precious. I've seen your calendar, and so thank you for taking the time to chat with me and share a bunch of your value, because your insights are something a lot of people would pay $5,000 for and have.
Yeah, now that I fucking did it, dude.
That was so funny. Good times, good times. That's what these are for, is for the funny stories and whatnot. But once again, bro, thank you for coming on here, and we'll
100%.
run it back in a couple months, and you can have an even cooler story to tell,
Yeah, to
and
tell.
then you can just yell at them the whole entire time. Stop being a pussy. You have to do this, and this, and this. Remember in the last episode, listen blindly and just take action, and then everybody will become millionaires overnight. So.
Hopefully, that's the goal, you know? Maybe don't just take my vertical, but anything else, do whatever you want.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, bro. And I will see you later.
Awesome, man. Cheers. Take care.
Peace.